Yeah, so welcome again in the developers call. Here is the meeting minutes. So please add your attendee, add your name so that yeah you are in the attendee list. We know it, right? So I'm pasting it in the chat too so that it's handy to you too. Yeah. So without wasting any time, let's move on to the first topic that Harshit has, which is a modal on Meshery database reset. So it's been a long wait, Harshit. So yeah, do you have any updates there?
Hello, I'm audible.
Yeah,
Yes, I actually deployed the model on our database. Let me share the screen. Okay.
sure.
So wait. Yes, is my screen shared?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so I have here I have added two buttons here. We have a reset database and a flush messaging button. And if we press the reset database, it actually asks us to confirm this. And if we press no, it will start to not accept that request. And if we just press this, it reset the database. Same for the flush messaging. We have here our model of flush messaging, and if you press this, it flush the messaging. But here the backend of the flush messaging is not completed yet. It's just a prototype of it, but the database is completed. So this is the idea.
We got. Yeah. Anybody have any comments on it? Is it how the behavior should be achieved? I really like it for now. But yeah, if you have some other suggestions on the top of your mind, yeah, please.
Yeah, nice. Hey, by the way, Abhi, your voice is slightly hard to hear. It kind of comes in and out a little bit. So, but Uzair, do you want to speak to the functionality behind either of these two buttons?
Yes. First, I would like to confirm, is flush sync equivalent to soft reset? That only dropping the messing data.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Is my voice audible?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
I was asking, is flush messing mode button equivalent to soft reset that we discussed, like only dropping the tables which have data related to messing?
Yes, actually, yes, I think you're right.
So the backend has that functionality. Only what I've done is I've initially thought of making at a making in a one go, like there is a reset database button, and in the modal there will be a check mark for the if user want to do hard reset. If the check mark is not checked, then it will only flush messing, and if the check mark is checked, it will do the hard reset. So backend has that functionality. You just have to in the UI, if you'll see, when the request is sent to backend, there are three options: resync, reset, clear DB. And if you want to do flush messing, only do clear DB and turn off that means make field of resync as false. Then you will be able to do.
Okay, thank you. So, what I'm assuming here that I have to just create the checkboxes here. I mean, if you just press the reset database, it should show the checkboxes that I want to flash messing or just complete the complete reset database.
First, I thought you will do like this, but this also looks good.
Yes, I also actually thought like this, but I think this was looking more cool. If we want that functionality, we can also add this that also.
I'm fine with this. Let others say that.
Okay.
Yeah, there is one doubt for me is like a user may not know a lot about meshing. Just I think it like it's not very important. It's true. So flush meshing. So someone for me as a user, how would I, perceive it? So that's one thing. Like, yeah. Do we have something user friendly information instead of meshing? You are providing some user friendly, like flush only these things that are related to meshing.
I'm actually not sure about what we can say.
Yeah, that's of course not a strong consideration here, but yeah, maybe future consideration.
Well, so hey, so something to be considered in context of this functionality is, and this question might be for Ashish or anyone else who can answer it, but is when the Meshery database is reset, I guess the first question is there, as you reset, or the the procedure, the operation that is invoked to reset the database, can you confirm the particulars of that operation? Are the files deleted from disk, or are the records within SQLite, are the tables truncated?
As you will see, I've raised a PR for hard reset also. So I will tell about what happens in both the case. If you will only flush missing data that is equivalent to soft reset, only the tables are dropped and recreated. Means all the data is truncated. And when you do a hard reset, then what happens is the Meshery SQL file in config.meshery config is moved to .archive folder, and a new SQL file is created.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, you probably just said that too, so I probably missed that. Okay, that makes sense. In the event of a hard reset, Ashish, how does Meshery server and its process recover from that without restarting?
In context with Uzair's PR or in general?
In general, because I think it's the same question either way, because what would, if the user goes over to the file system and deletes the files, or if Meshery server deletes its own files, moves the files, do we have the ability to safely reinitialize the database?
When Meshery server is started, it does reinitialize it. If the file is not there, it reinitializes it. But if Meshery server is running, and so you're asking if Meshery server is running, and then while the Meshery server is running, we delete the SQL file, what happens in that case? In that case, as of now, we do not have a way to reinitialize it. Yeah, we don't have a way to reinitialize it right now.
Cool. Yeah, good. So this particular hard reset would have, in some respect, it would have the undesired effect of basically just breaking your deployment. And so, what's the answer here? The function that creates the database on startup, can that function be called?
I think Uzair, in your refactoring, you are calling the same function, right? The function that is.
Yes, I'm calling the same function.
Okay, so you're moving the files, which is in effect a deletion of the files. Subsequently, you're invoking literally the exact same function that initializes the database. You're invoking that as well in the same operation.
Yes, of course, I'm moving the file so that if the user want to send logs or wants to check what happened, so that file is saved in .archive folder, and then there is no database file. So I'm reinitializing, like what happens when we start Meshery server. Hello, am I
Okay,
audible?
great. Not really. It's like your mic is being bumped the whole time, or wind is on it, or something. But I don't know where I don't know if you. Oh yeah, your video is up. So no, the mic is not being bumped. I don't know what it is. It's like I don't know. It's not there anymore. Oh yeah, it's the fan. Yeah, you're gonna have to sweat it out, man, because I can't hear you. Cool, good. Okay, yeah. So you took care of the full consideration. And so, Uzair, do you know in your kind of testing of the hard reset, does Meshery server, is it successful? It moves the files over, reinitializes the database, and then continues along its merry way?
Yes. If
Ah,
you
nice.
want, I can show you now.
No, I trust you. I don't know if it would be helpful. I think you've proven, of the contributions you've done, you've proven that I totally believe you. That's wonderful. As a matter of fact, I will use this function. It's kind of sad to say that I'll use the function because that means that occasionally Meshery gets into a corrupt state. And so we need to go fix those issues, but at least we have 2 ways to reset the database. So this is great. The other thing about the UI here is everybody giving some good feedback. I think one thing to consider is, to Abhi's point of the user may or may not know what mesh sync is. Like, okay. But in that same vein, what might be, especially since we'll have a modal, that's an opportunity to really explain to the user what to expect, when to invoke this, sort of what to expect. Like, it's not like we want to have a full paragraph of text sitting there it can be very, concise things, but it's sort of like, what's the difference between soft and hard, and kind of, what do you mean? And for anyone who's, for the most part, we can expect a relatively educated user. So terms like flush and terms like reset, they carry connotation. Like, people should have a fair bit of understanding of what that were to mean in the first place. But if there's additional information that we can, let them know, like that, if you're not seeing any, if you're seeing stale data in your dashboards, you may want to flush your database. If you're not seeing any new data in your database at all, you may want to hard reset, kind of a thing, like some amount of, and then I wouldn't worry too much about the particulars of the checkboxes versus buttons versus because Uzair and Abhi and maybe some other folks are looking at a rewrite of this interface anyway, because it's got to support multiple clusters. And so
Uh, I have one thing to interject here because the topic of multi-cluster came in reference to this particular operator configuration that we are seeing here. Right now, what I see is the reset database and flush mesh sync button are part of that box of operator configuration. So, but this operator configuration will be per context. So each cluster will have its own operator configuration. So, like for 3 clusters, the Meshery operator button is clicked on, and maybe user has clicked off it for the rest of 2 clusters. And right now, and the reset database and flush mesh sync operations are global operations, and they're not cluster specific. So it kind of in my head, because I'm looking in the context of multi-cluster approach, multi-cluster PR. So buttons that are specific to some global operation are inside of something that is cluster specific. So would it be good to take these 2 buttons out of that thing? And I'm not good at UI, so other folks will have a better suggestion than I will. And one more thing, the end note would be that it would be good to have this thing at the granularity of each cluster, so that if user wants to flush data for 3 clusters, they can, and it would be in the backend. We would need like 3 lines of code. Uzair, we would just get the context IDs from the query parameters, and while dropping the table, basically you'll be deleting rows where the cluster ID matches the cluster ID that you're getting from the query parameters. So yeah, we can also go ahead and do fine-grained wipe out data of X amount of clusters and leave data for Y amount of clusters, and that will be a cluster specific operation, and that can be left inside of that operator configuration box. Yeah, any remarks, criticism, or supporting views in that direction?
Yes, we can do that. Deleting only the specific cluster related data.
I have a doubt here that if we have a operator configuration this card for each the cluster, then to flush the data of the specific cluster, we have to create the individual buttons for each.
Yeah, good question, because right now that's kind of an open question, and because I think we would need a wireframe or something to put in place before we can go ahead and talk about this thing, because I don't think we have any such thing. Last time we had a conversation, that was the end note of the conversation, that we need some kind of a wireframe to have a common dictionary or ground on which we can have a conversation, and right now we don't. So one of the suggestions that he gave was kind of a table. So if you have 5 clusters, you can have some kind of a table at right side. When you click on one of these rows, maybe this operator configuration box pops up, and then you can apply operations, or maybe some other UI suggestions are welcomed there as well. But yeah, we would have to have this operator configuration for each of the connected cluster. And Lee, what you said about flushing mesh sync for each cluster, well, that also can be done. Yeah, that can be done. That is completely doable. So when user clicks on flush mesh sync, he clicks that button in context of one cluster, and the context ID of that cluster can be passed to the backend, and then the backend will do the fine-grained deletion. Although reset database is a very general operation, so it would be good to have that at least outside of the operator configuration box, because it does the entire it archives it and recreates it. So yeah.
So what I think is, if the setting page is going to be revamped or redesigned, so for as of now, we can keep this reset database of flash messing button the way it is, and when it is redesigned, we will consider all the things, like for each specific cluster, specific buttons of reset and flash messing and all those things. Is it okay with everyone? Lee, Ashish?
Yes, it sounds good. That yes.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so just immediately pulling the buttons outside of the specific operator paper, and then from there, it's kind of like this is a soft opinion. That is, you could just leave them as 2 buttons. You could consolidate them into one with a modal that has check. Like it's good to get this functionality in here now as a global piece of functionality, and just let that land, and it'll be helpful. And then what we need to do is spend time doing UX, which is great. Like having the knowledge of what Ashish just said, which is, hey, it wouldn't be too difficult to just add the ability to individually flush flush data per operator, per mesh sync, per context. It's like that's all the same statement. So great having that understanding as you think about the user interface by which a user would, would manage multiple contexts, and each context having its own operator. There's a bunch of data to show about the operator and its custom components, custom controllers. There's a number of operations, like provision the operator, unprovision it, reset Meshery's database, but only like globally, or just flush data specific to one context, remove a context, add a context, like upload a cube config, parse through that config. Maybe there's 10 contexts in there, only registered 3 of them. Like there's a lot of flows, user flows, to what the user might want to do. And all of that is completely achievable in a single interface. It's just a bit of forethought needs to be put in so that conversations like this become pretty short. So
Yeah. So we have some residue here, so we will talk back. Let's move on to some other topic. We are half past time, so yeah, let's. So let me share this. So next item is from Uzair. We have already discussed a bit of it. So yeah, hard reset of database.
I think we already discussed much about it, so it is okay if
Yeah.
we move on to
Yeah,
next
sure.
item.
Yeah, support machine prototype. Yeah, you
Yes.
can go on.
Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is the PR that adds support for this, and this is related to a messing. Uh, in the messing, I am adding environment variable, which is where, and that I am using here in Meshery server to get the version of it. Uh, so what I've done is the equivalent of kubectl exec pod name and minus minus in env. The same with this command we get all the environment variables of a pod. So that same functionality I'm achieving with the client load library. So this is the function that helps me achieve this. But the thing is I'm not able to test at my local, because whenever I'm building Meshery operator and trying to run it, I'm getting an error, which should I post in the chat again, or is it accessible to everyone?
So you're building a local image of Meshery operator, or
Meshery operator, yes,
so,
and messing
okay.
also.
Okay. The logs that I saw, it had the stable latest tag. So did you rebuild it with the stable latest tag, or was that image being pulled from the Docker
Uh,
repository?
no, I build with the, like what I'm doing is there is a command in there's a command like make deploy. So I'm just running this, and it is deploying my operator
Yeah.
on the cluster.
Yeah.
So
Okay. And what are the logs from the operator itself?
no, I didn't check those. I just checked the what is the describe of the CR and the logs of the pod.
The operator started and then I saw the back of thing. So it started and then it exited and then it started again. So
Yes, it is
it,
in a kind of loop. It is just
yeah.
doing that.
So it must have failed with some kind of a log. So that would be helpful. So if you could share that
Okay.
log on Slack, we could go from there.
Okay, as I'm sharing this, do you have any suggestion, or can you please review this afterwards?
Okay. Yeah, I'll review this.
So guys, so I don't know that we should be building out a separate Uzair, last time we spoke, I said there are common mesh kit functions for performing.
Yes, I remember you said there is a mesh kit function for the describe, but the thing is the describe doesn't hold environment variables that we give in the Docker file. Like I checked, I was giving environment variable and it was not appearing in the describe. But if I'm providing environment variable in the deployment of our template, then it is appearing. So that function was not helpful here.
Got you. We also, like, in general, there's got to be a better way. Like in general, we don't want to be parsing through text at all. That's so fragile. That's so fragile. Are you you're including kubectl's Golang package?
Yes, it is already
Okay.
included. So
As opposed to, like, in general, we don't want to, like, I know it's kind of deceiving, but CLIs are designed for humans largely, which is exactly why you're having to parse text. Some people script around them, a lot of people do, but that's because they don't know how to code, I would say, code very well. And I'm not saying that that's true of you. What I'm saying is, like, it's deceiving. We don't want to use a CLI programmatically if we don't have to, what we want to do is talk to Kube API and invoke other endpoints that will retrieve data about a deployed pod, which is in some respects to say the underlying API that will invoke a get pod that invokes basically the same API that kubectl is invoking is like the one that we would, because kubectl is not an API.
Basically, if you will see, this is a part of client Go, that Kubernetes API. This remote command is also part of that. So I think we are not using much. I'm not sure about this, but all other than this, all this is a part of Kubernetes API.
Also, we already have few functions which give us I guess broker and mesh sync objects like those, and I think there we do have labels in metadata. So if you'll okay, I'll comment on this PR and I'll refer to that function that I'm referring to. I think whether it's in Meshkit or in Meshery, in one of those things, and in one of those places, most probably in Meshery, I guess. So if that is helpful, you can directly use that, and that thing is actually internally using client set, but it kind of gives a nice. I mean, instead of directly using client set, you can use that, yeah, as abstraction. So I'll refer to that after the call. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's move on to our next topic, which is compatibility metrics by Aditya. Yeah. So please.
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so we have been doing a multiple E2E tests, and we have been storing the results for different tests in this docs. And with that, all the results, I made a summary kind of a matrix in which we show different Meshery components that are compatible, like how much they are compatible with Kubernetes version. So currently we only check for Kubernetes version 1.20. So these are all we show the percentage of how much passing tests are there for individual Meshery component. So this is a basic summary of all the integration tests that we store in docs. Right now, since we only check for with version 1.20, so there is only one row. But if we decide to increase the versions of Kubernetes, then each time we change the version, a new row will form, and according to that, results will be shown.
What's next with this, Subedi?
I think now we have to check this thing, the service mesh version. We need to enable to compare is it compatible with the latest service mesh version or not. I think that should be the next thing. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So there's Rudraj. I don't know that he's on the phone, but definitely, as you go through this, as a matter of fact, I would just ping him to let him know, like, hey, that this thing has just come forth. There is, he and Ashish are giving consideration to all, and I'm sure others, but are giving consideration to all the data that's being collected or generated from end-to-end tests in the adapters. Data like how many components that we support per adapter or per service mesh. Pretty interesting to know. Also something to eventually not just expose inside of a compatibility matrix, but to expose on Meshery.io, to be able to say on Meshery.io, Meshery supports X number of, Meshery goes deep, right? And it supports all of the specific configurations for all these meshes. And here's this big fat number. Click to see more, go right over to the compatibility matrix, in which people can see a nice high-level summary of the, what Meshery supports, what it's compatible with. And then I think, based on what you've done, if you hover again over the icon, and it'll say 100% or whatever, is there any, if a user clicks there, where you take them to the integration tests for that?
past results, like all the past results.
I mean, that's just great. I mean, like, if a user is interested, generally their interest will wane as soon as they hit that third page. If they start from Meshery.io, wow, 5,000 component, or 1,000 components supported. Wow, what does that even mean? And they click it, they see that there's 10 of these things. They see the compatibility with Kubernetes, the different types of Kubernetes. So there's more data. So it's really impressive. And people, they mostly want to digest this. They might be curious as to why it's yellow, click it. And when they see that there's test after test after test, and then they, if you click that right now, wow, okay, well, what happened? And then they click on one of these to see the details inside. Wow, they can actually believe, for Jared Byers, who's given some fantastic input on these calls. One of his, he focuses in QA, and like Mario, who also focuses in QA, it's kind of, I would find it hard to believe that Meshery is really doing all of this, and really, that I would confidently use the software to administer these. And it's like, well, no, actually it is. And here's the proof. When you can drill down that far, I would think most people, their eyeballs would glaze over this third page and okay, fine, I believe you, fine. They back out and then they go try it. Where we have another opportunity is if you go over to our adapters, the adapters page, there's info about adapters. This is another place to potentially expose number of supported components, or to dynamically have the numbers of versions updated. Like it's the same data file should be driving this page, the compatibility matrix page, as well as when you go to supported platforms, when someone wants to know, hey, what's the latest version of the supported? Well, eventually the compatibility matrix, probably like this page, supported platforms, probably needs to be renamed into compatibility matrix. And then what you've done, ideally somehow you're figuring out how to intermingle the table that's here, which has static info, with the real test results that you're having over there. So
yeah, so probably figure out how to show compatibility between different platforms, right? Docker we have for Kubernetes now, but for also Docker and everything.
Also, Aditya, I had a doubt. Can you go back to that page? So what formula are you using to calculate that percentage, that 100 or 31 points?
Percentage is accepted passing test divided by total number of tests.
Okay, so I think that would have worked in a lot of cases, but I think here it's kind of deceiving, because the way these tests are is you can have 20 tests which are failing, and then someone comes up with a patch, fixes everything, 21st test passes everything. So now we should say that we 100% support everything, and everything is working. But the answer that would be calculated by this thing, it would be 1 divided by 21, which would be a deceiving number. So I think instead of using that formula, that total number of passing tests divided by total number of tests, what you can do is just use the most recent test result, because that is reflective of the current state. All the past results are good enough, but someone might have fixed something and now that everything is working, but we are using the previous tests who have no significance with the current build to conceptualize how performant our system is. So instead of that, for example, if you click on the most recent result, and you get 3 pods of working, passing, and 2 are not. Basically 3 pods are running, 2 are not running. Just use that for example, this you can use for the latest test result, number of not just pods. So Rituraj has made this PR, which we are propagating through all the adapters. Now, not just pods, we can have any kind of resource. So number of successfully deployed resources divided by total number of expected resources. So in this case, it would be, for Istio, it would be 100%, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pods, and we expected 7 pods. So 7 by 7, it's 100%. So if you can just go ahead and change the formula to reflect that, it would be little nice.
Yeah, I have one question. So will we be comparing for the edge version or the stable version then, if we do use that?
Good question. I think I think I think okay, what do I think? uh, let's whichever is the recent. I think Edge should work, but again, maybe so we broke something off in Edge, and the latest is working fine. So uh, yeah, I will tell you after I think. Right now, I don't have a better suggestion to this thing. But yeah, Edge versus release is like whichever is the recent for now. Maybe that would work. Whichever has
Okay.
the most recent timestamp. Or yes, as Lee suggested, stable. Of course, think users. So you can use the stable one.
Okay, so the recent stable test we have,
Yeah.
use. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that can be done. Okay, so just like the final question, like just to be sure, I need to calculate percent of total number of test runs divided by passing it, right? Like
Yeah,
total
yeah, yeah,
test
yeah,
total.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. For the recent stable, yeah.
All right. And yeah, that was it. And I think Meshery Celium, like I think we just have one test, but that was failing. So
Yeah, yeah. I think the reason for that was not having Cilium CNI, and Ruturaj modified the core workflow to reflect the. I will not go into details for people interested in this thing. We would talk more about compatibility matrix and that red failing Cilium test in tomorrow's build and release call. So make sure to attend that. And
okay.
yeah, that's it.
Okay, yeah, all right, that was it. I'll make the
Yeah.
changes shortly.
Good.
Thanks, Aditya. So Alpha would like to go next with his updates on SMP action.
Yeah, sure. Give me a minute. Okay, screen is up. Okay, so my work so far is to remove the bash commands and the Meshery SMP action file on the shell script, and my objective is to make them Meshery CTL native, in the sense like if we use a kubectl to apply YAML files to deploy an app, instead of it, will be aiming to deploy the application from the using the power of the Meshery CTL itself. So that's what the task is all about. And so far, I've been running the multiple tests on the GitHub action on my branch, and so far so good. And what the issue is that the parent file, I've also checked with you using the service mesh patterns from the, what do you say, the book info present in the service mesh patterns repo, and still it's returning the error 500 code. Yeah, when I tested in local, it worked slightly pretty fine, but this is the only blocker I have right now. And for the service meshes so far been work, only 3 meshes have been work: Istio, Linkerd, and some open service mesh. Rest of the service meshes, Zin is working right now to follow the same procedure as well. So yeah, that's the update from my side. So any suggestions to bypass this line alone? I mean, not to bypass, to fix this error for the pattern apply.
I remember this 500. I used to get this, but that got fixed. Is Piyush on the call? I think Piyush, do you can you remind? Are you aware of the condition when the Meshery CTL used to return 500 when you used to do Meshery CTL pattern apply?
Yeah, I don't remember right now.
Okay. I'll look into that and I'll connect with you later. Okay.
Okay, sure, Ashish. Thanks a lot.
Just one minor suggestion. What I think
Yep,
is,
okay.
yeah. So you just said that you are not able to reproduce the 500 error on your local. So probably because your Meshery is already configured with the all the setup you have done, like config database and all. So probably try
Okay.
running it on an empty container or some virtual machine, if you have any, like, yeah.
Okay, so you are asking me to run the Meshery server, Meshery as a new product, and then try to test these commands. That's what you're saying, right? In my local system. Okay.
Not in your local system, but a clean system. So you can get an AWS container for the thing, or just use virtual machine. You have to just execute stewards deploy.sh file, right? So
Okay,
I think you will
fine.
be better. You will better be able to debug when you are running it on a machine rather than on GitHub action. Other than that, I have found a article that gives you context of how you can debug the GitHub actions and how you can sh into the containers while the
Yes,
GitHub action is running.
yes,
So
yes, yes. I get it. I get it. That's I have also implemented the teammate session right now, thanks to suggestion given by Shiva, and it's been quite a lot of helpful. And but still that the debugging of the error code 500 is alone a blocker for me. Other than that, no issues found actually. Okay, uh,
okay. So yeah, thanks, Alpha. Do you have any other comments, or yeah, we can move to Pranav?
So my topic is about enhanced user profiles. So I don't have a demo right now, but I can like talk about what I am working on right now. So for example, whenever like we sign into Meshery, then which first choose a provider. And for example, if we use remote provider, we get this screen. Now the thing is that this is coming from Meshery Cloud that takes care of logging in, sign up, and all those authentication stuff which we do for each user. So whenever you click on sign in with GitHub, then for example, uh, if I use a profile like any other user, then I will get authenticated with Meshery Cloud, and then I'll get access to this thing, Meshery. Then my work is like when whenever we go to settings, we should we should have more stuff related to user. For example, the name of the user, first name, last name, and apart from just using those third-party authentication provider, we should also have a sign-in sign-up form. So if I go to the Figma design, this is this is the thing which I was working on, so that we can retrieve those information from the remote provider and get those things onto the user in Meshery UI. And more than that, also, for example, later on after my changes, we would also be like any user can directly go to meshery.layer5.io and see their profile here as well. Like currently, we cannot do it because the support for it is not here. Actually, like it depends upon the role as well, but if you are a normal user you won't be able to see this. So that's my next thing, and this will also help us to keep track of users in different websites. Like for example, layer5.io, we also have those learning paths, and we would be also able to store their information of each user, their preferences, and then they can manage them based on their use cases. That's the thing I would be working on. Hopefully, I would be able to show a demo in the next meeting.
Okay, thanks, Pranav. So next thing is for Ashish and me. multi-context features in
I
your
think
images.
I think that might take more than 10 minutes. We just have 10 minutes. So if someone else wants to go first, they can. So that we can cover more topics. Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, let's give the chance to Alpha and Mario. So blog on evolution of Meshery CTL reference page, Alpha.
That's that's just a minor update. Like since after the PR on the what can I say, the auto generation of the Meshery CTL documentation has been merged. So I've started to write a blog right now on how the Meshery CTL has been evolved and how its design has been revamped and it's been uh, how it's helpful to the newcomers today. So currently, it's in progress right now, and PR is also opened on layer 5 repo. So yeah, nothing much from that side actually.
Okay, great. Those are good updates. So yeah, Mario, Cypress end-to-end tests. PR number 5526. Let's see it. Yeah, by the way, you can share your screen too.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I was planning on sharing it, so just I'll just share it. That's okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Thanks. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I was finally able to send a pull request for contributing instructions for end-to-end testing using Cypress. So the PR is up. Already posted it on Slack. Feedback is welcome. And I've got the changes over here. So basically it's a new page over here. And here the idea is to describe the framework, the test framework. So basically it's the foldering structure of our UI Cypress folder located in a Meshery repository. So here each folder is described as to what's the intent, what are the files located there supposed to be used for. So we have action helpers, what are the fixtures, and there are also some useful links to the actual Cypress docs. So if you see this one would redirect to the core concepts of writing and organizing test, specifically to the what's a fixture file. And also a like high-level description of what's the purpose of these fixture files for both integration and end-to-end test. There could be more usage like use cases for fixture files, but the most common is the stopping response data for integration test and reusing data as could be test input, but also like things that tests are supposed to use to input on the UI, or also like expected expected conditions or data. So that it's kind of like trying to enable like data-driven testing. And yeah, so also the different folders, like it's at least to me it was a bit confusing why there's an integration folder and then an integration and end-to-end folder, but like it's here it's clearly described when an integration test would be used, what are the benefits versus an end-to-end test. So basically it's testing both the server and the UI, so on, and some links to other Cypress docs are here on seeding data, bypassing UI, what that means, actual server responses, and different things like Cypress routes, weights, and assertions. So since if anyone's writing an end-to-end test, like these links will be very helpful in that context. So it's like a reference guide to actual examples and like very easy to understand. Also the plugins, like what are they, how to use them. All of these links reference, like they would redirect someone to the actual GitHub file, like the one in master. and
Mhm.
some other links for plugins guide, and finally the support files, like what's a custom command, how to like what is their purpose, and even some like the link to our own custom command script. And also, of course, how to open the Cypress. So I added a custom, like an npm script in the UI project. So the idea is to just use this command and open this actually runs the dev server for us. So it's actually easier than having to open multiple consoles to run the server and then another one to open Cypress. So this will open in interactive mode, and it'll help like for anyone to rerun the tests. And oh yeah, basically that's it. And there's some useful links over here. The one I want to highlight is this Learn Cypress. So they have really good courses over here. So I think that'll help a lot. And
Yeah.
yep. And just one more thing, in the Meshery UI, there is this running Cypress integration test. This was Lee's idea. I think it's very good. So actually having a place here to explain the simple make command to run this is only for the integration test. Sorry. So this would run only the front end and some tests that stop the server responses. So that's all. Any questions or comments? Complaints?
And this is a great step forward. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Yeah, I hope it helps. I mean, I think there is a separate issue in layer 5 repo to create a blog, like actually creating a test. So I'll work on that next. But I'll still wait for some feedback on this PR, in case there's any. And that's all for right now. I'll stop sharing, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So we have handful of minutes. Can we discuss about the backstage and the plugin, Lee?
Yeah, good. I withheld my comments from Mario just to make sure that we didn't run over time. I put a lot of comments in the chat though, so just
sounds great. Okay, take a look.
So Siva is with us. Siva, this is your first time on this call, right? I think.
First time actually.
Yeah, say it again.
Yeah, this is the first time.
Nice. Okay. It's compulsory that you say hi to everybody and tell everyone your favorite color.
Hi everyone. My favorite color is white.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I can see that. So backstage, there's one of the users of Meshery, Samir, had at one point requested that there be a plugin for Backstage. And so in a similar vein as to how someone else had requested a Helm chart or a plugin for Meshery into CubeSphere, someone else has requested a Meshery be available in Backstage. And so you came to my mind as someone that might want to pick this up. This issue's gone stale a couple of times. And are you familiar with, so Backstage is another CNCF project. It's a service catalog. There's a link here to how to create a plugin. It's been a while since I've looked at this. I don't know necessarily how involved it is. Hopefully not a lot more than just getting them Meshery's Helm chart, but I don't know. Is this an area of interest for you? Something you might want to research and figure out if.
Yeah, actually, I have to research in that part about Backstage.
Yeah, and you don't. So as you do that, one, know that you don't need to know anything about Backstage potentially, like you don't, because, but rather, I mean, it's good that you do, but as you look to, like, hopefully they've made it fairly straightforward about what changes would need to be included in Backstage to be able to include Meshery. They don't say. Yeah, they don't say. I don't know. It looks like they're making it harder than it needs to be. I don't know, but yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, if that's the case, then
Maybe. Actually, let me check that.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, as you investigate, just drop a comment on the issue if it's of interest. Else, we'll grab another contributor, and then maybe you can tag team with them if that makes it a little more tangible, a little more palatable, rather. So there's another contributor. Nice. Okay. Yeah, good. So by the way, for those that aren't familiar with Siva, he had recently created a GitHub action to publish Meshery's Helm chart to KubeSphere, which is great. And he's going to take the contents of that action and integrate that into Meshery's workflow for for releasing the Helm chart to Meshery's Helm chart to KubeSphere. Just before he does that, he's just going to go manually do that integration, see how much people use it, and if it's worth kind of following up with automation. But yeah, so geez, Siva, you haven't even been on the call before, and it already takes me 5 minutes to explain what you've already done. That's great. Okay. Anybody else want to harass Siva? Well, here's your chance. You would think that like green is my favorite color. I didn't choose the colors, but anyway, white. Okay, I get it. White. Okay, I'll remember that. Back to you, Avi.
Yeah. Thanks, you. Like, that's a great conclusion here. So yeah, so we are already past a minute, so we have one item left, which is we can discuss it in future development calls. So yeah, it's time to say you all goodbye, and thanks once again, you joined it and gave your precious time to us.
And people who have stayed till the end, just one interesting thing, see you on the next dev call, because that item that we skipped, most probably we're going to give a live demo of the multi-context thing. Pretty enticing to see. So see you in the next call.
Yeah. So look at the excitement of
See you soon, guys.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.